Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in the following verse, he explains that sometimes the Lord put his devotees in some kind of confusion. Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, is a Nityasiddha, an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. It is surprising that, being an eternal associate, she's asking Krishna to cut our connections with her sons and the members of her family. Since Kunti, every time Krishna appears in the universe, she also appears. Krishna appears, the Pandavas and the Brishnis also. So what can we understand from this? It is simply to educate the living beings. The ordinary living beings who do not have a connection with the internal energy of the Supreme Lord through devotional service cannot understand much about the nature of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Jivadharma explains that those who come from the Jiva Shakti on the marginal platform, the souls that are not the eternal associates of the Lord, but who come from this marginal region between the material and the spiritual worlds, and who can make a choice either to come in the material world or to come in the spiritual world, do not have a complete definite nature. Although the soul is Satchitananda Vigraha, that it has a form, that it is full of knowledge and bliss and eternity, since these souls are coming from this marginal plane, which is more connected to the Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, the Super Soul. So, their eternity, their knowledge, and their bliss, which are the three ingredients of the soul, are not perfectly manifested. They are more in relationship with a more impersonal aspect of the spiritual reality. This is why, when we meditate by ourselves, we can simply have this understanding that we are of the nature of Brahman, which is undefined. It is only when we come in contact with pure devotional service through an authentic disciplic succession that we receive the true knowledge. From there, the three ingredients of Satchit Ananda can manifest themselves fully. Just like, for example, when the lady is pregnant and that the baby starts to come gradually, in the same way, the spiritual initiation through the disciplic succession is just like this lady being pregnant. The soul, when the living being receives knowledge about the Lord, His name, His form, His qualities, His pastimes, then he can meditate on his own nature because he participates in this real nature for the happiness of the Lord. He can enter this abode and come in contact with the Lord. From this knowledge, he can also become conscious of his own knowledge about himself. And when he establishes a relationship with the Supreme Lord, then that relationship becomes what we call love of God. But before it is not possible. This is why the majority of living beings are impersonalists. Then we can understand the words of Padma Purana who explain that without receiving a mantra from one of the four authentic disciplic successions, the mantra will not have any strength. because it is not imbibed with knowledge and bliss. It cannot take birth in the soul. So the soul stays impersonal. That's why even people, they worship Krishna, but they are impersonalists. So the Padma Purana establishes that unless we are initiated through one of the four authentic disciplic successions, we cannot understand the Supreme Lord. This is why the Lord in this age of Kali, he manifests four special disciplic successions connected to different feelings who exist in this kingdom. For example, there's Goloka Vrindavan, the most intimate feeling. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the Madhva Sampradaya for that. There's also in the Sri Sampradaya feelings that are full of reverence, just like the devotion to Ramachandra or Narayan. So these four disciplic successions, they have differences between each of them, but they allow to develop different feelings. And the living being, according to his qualification, will be attracted to a certain group. If we look, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, for example, there is a pastime, Mahaprakash Lila, and for 21 hours, he manifested many divine forms. And we see that through all his devotees, he distributed a particular love. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gives all the feelings because he is the origin of everything. He is the origin of all the divine forms. So, he came still to taste a particular feeling. And through his disciplic succession, he distributed this particular feeling. Although someone will not be forcibly attracted to this feeling because his farup, his eternal form, will be different, we can attain naturally this nature also. Because because everything is included when you're in connection with the highest. So Kunti, she has this feeling because of the energy of the pastimes of the Lord. Because when the Lord comes with his devotees, the activities of the Lord and his devotees, they look a lot like the activities of this world. Because this world is just a reflection of reality. It means all the feelings that exist in this world, they exist in the transcendental world. This is why Kunti, when she thinks about her children, she's thinking, when Krishna will leave, my children will not be in a good situation. But still, I cannot be selfish. I must also find satisfaction in my family members. But she's thinking, is that a fault? Is that a fault thinking like that? You understand? And this is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he puts the emphasis on the philosophy of Gyan and personal liberation, which will itself say that the attachment is a fault. But on the material platform, yes. Because if we are attached to an ordinary being, we become illusioned by matter. But on the spiritual level, when we become attached to a pure devotee of the Lord, so we obtain the supreme liberation. We cannot destroy our attachments. The soul has this nature to attach itself. It is the nature of the soul to love Krishna. It is the nature of the soul to love his devotees. The soul loves the abode of the Lord. The soul is made for that. But when his attachment is well focused, properly focused, directed, dovetailed, automatically, it is just like it will be in union with an unlimited world full of love and perfection. So when you are connected to something of this level, you're always satisfied. But the realization of Brahman, it is explained. Krishna explains that it is the basis of Brahman in the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because the Brahman is his effulgence. But the effulgence of the Lord, there's only an aspect of eternity in his effulgence. When we experience the nature of Brahman in meditation, finally, when we enter by experiencing the nature of the self, we find only a little perception of a passive bliss. We get a glimpse of a passive bliss, just passive, not active. But when we chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, the Lord reveals himself through his form, his qualities, and his pastimes. So the living being develops a joy that is much deeper. It is something that is completely ecstatic. That means he enters in a devotion where he exists on a plane which is always dynamic and very attractive. It is an extraordinary experience which can be known only by rare persons. It's really rare to have this experience of prema. But the one who experiences prema, when he experiences Brahman, it is just like a punishment. It's to tell you, still those who experiment Brahman, when they explain about it, it's just like an ocean of love. They're melting in an ocean of love. It is an extraordinary experience. But for the devotee, when Krishna makes him taste that, it's just like a punishment. Because it is so much inferior. It's just like a punishment. The devotee, he cries, he screams, he cries when he has this experience. It is impossible in reality to try to understand through the intellect. It is a full experience. This vision where the Lord reveals himself and we find ourselves in his abode, in our transcendental body, it is an experience that few living entities have. That doesn't mean that if we don't have it, that we don't go back to Krishna. But without having it, it is difficult to understand what the acharyas are speaking about. And often, most of all, to understand the secrets of the Vedic scriptures. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the goal of the Vedas is to know him. All the Vedas, whether it is the nature of the fruitive activity, even all the impersonal teachings are there to help someone progress. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that karma, fruitive activity, and gyan, the path of knowledge, and bhakti, the path of devotion, they are 3 steps of a same staircase that brings one to the Supreme Lord. Most of living entities, why do they approach the Lord? Because they suffer. Because this world is a world of suffering. So they're trying with all their resources to get out of this. They want to get out of suffering. And these 2 ways of approaching the Supreme Lord are imperfect. Because in the abode of the Lord, there exists only one thing: giving ourselves fully. Devotees exist for Krishna, and Krishna exists for these devotees. So when we approach the Lord to get out of our suffering, we cannot understand him, neither enter in his abode. Because we are introduced in his kingdom only by this feeling of giving ourselves completely. Today, if we do not have an experience of Krishna, it is because we're trying simply to obtain him for our happiness. For example, we meditate, but it's for us. When we live for him, then we'll have an experience. But to live for ourselves, How can we obtain that experience of living for Krishna? It's not so easy. So, first of all, we approach him because we're in difficulty, because we suffer. Those who do not have those who do not suffer, they don't approach Krishna unless they have been great sages in their previous life. Krishna says there are 4 kinds of living beings who approach me. The one who is unhappy, the curious, the one looking for wealth, and the one looking for knowledge. These 4 types of living beings, they approach me in an imperfect way. But that doesn't mean the Lord does not reciprocate with them. And when we receive, it creates a relationship, even a religious. I remember, I quote this example. I saw a documentary with religious people, and the guy said, you know, the prayer, I try and it works. You concentrate and you say, I want the car. And you concentrate, please God, give me that car, give me that car. And it comes. So what happens? Someone who wants a good car and he will never be able to have it. If he has a car, he will say it works. But if he doesn't have a car, it's not. He's going to be unhappy. It's only interest. So this prayer, the Lord is very merciful, because it is the nature of the Lord to not see the faults in a living being. We, as conditioned souls, we see a lot of faults. We're just like flies. The flies, as soon as there is a fault, they go towards it. You can have beautiful flowers, but if they have a big piece of poop, then they will go towards it, even if it's full of nectar around it. We have this nature to be just like flies. The Acharya says it's better to be like a bee. The bee goes towards nectar, never goes toward the poop. The Lord is called Madhusudan. He is the most beautiful. Is the most beautiful because he finds himself. He goes towards the most beautiful flowers because he sees only the qualities. He has a connection only with qualities, not with faults. Because there's no faults in him and his world is perfect, he only connects with that on that platform. So when we connect with people, we should not see their faults. This is not the nature of the Lord to see faults in others. So automatically, even if living beings approach him in an imperfect way, they are rewarded, because there will be no opportunity for them to progress. There is this conception in certain religions. You will go to hell for eternity. This is really scary. You will die. You will boil in the fires and pits of hell. Not easy, But it's really fashion nowadays. But it cannot be like this. Already, the soul is eternal. It is a fact. The soul cannot be dried, it cannot be burned, it cannot be... Even if it has an experience with suffering, this suffering cannot truly touch the soul. It explains just like when you dream. You have a suffering, but it's like a nightmare, but when you wake up, this nightmare disappears. In the same way, the soul, the connection she has with suffering is on that level. There is an experience, but the experience cannot be eternal. If we do something bad, we have to pay for it. And when it's paid for, a new chance is given to us. And from there, this print that stays from that suffering, because there's a mercy. We could say, oh, I'm suffering, but I don't remember anything. There's always like an impression. We know this world. There's suffering. We have an impression of suffering. And we want to get out of that suffering. So automatically, when we pray for the Supreme Lord, the Lord accepts this prayer. But because the living being does not have the desire to be with Him, so he must sometimes take birth again, and through the prayer that he made, he obtains a certain qualification to address himself again towards the Lord. And at some point, naturally, the feeling becomes more and more deeper. It's logical. Because as we have a contact, as we are rewarded, there's a feeling, a deeper and deeper feeling that manifests itself. When we experience that, what would the living being say? If I could understand this person which is behind all of this, if I was made from His image, if I was myself also spiritual, why am I praying for material things so insignificant? Why should I not pray for something superior? And from there, since the Lord will express Himself differently, the Lord will reciprocate differently with the living entity. So the more the living entity will be personal, the more the Lord will be personal. And then the soul will desire a loving relationship with the Lord. And he will understand the nature of this material world, why people suffer, etc., etc., etc. And he will want to reintegrate his eternal position. So if the Lord does not allow for people who do not have pure spiritual consciousness, if he does not allow them to be attracted towards Him through material desires, so He will not be merciful. You understand? This is why we should never criticize others, because everything is a plan of the Supreme Lord. When you meet someone who has another faith, you must simply see him, see his faith as a manifestation of the Supreme Lord. It's very important. So, of course, this appreciation, when we have a high level of devotion, it is not that it will change your relationship with the Lord. It will, because when the relationship is established, it is our eternal feeling. But this appreciation comes naturally because we understand that everyone needs God on a certain level, and certain of them, they need God at 100%. It is in proportion with our desire to be with Him that the Lord reveals Himself according to our desire. This is why if someone is not pure, he cannot see the Supreme Lord as He is, even and His kingdom also. Because somehow, in this world, we create our own kingdom. We don't want to be in the kingdom of the Supreme Lord. We don't want to be a servant. We create our own universe with our children, our wife. So when we worship Him, we want Him to be in our kingdom in the way we want it. But He cannot reveal Himself as He is, because in His kingdom it is not like that. You understand? So the realization that we have from Him is completely imperfect. This is why people cannot see the form of the Supreme Lord. They cannot understand His qualities, His pastimes. But when the split succession manifests themselves in the material world, it is to give this knowledge. And when we come into contact with that knowledge, what will happen? We will reject this conception of our own kingdom and ask the Lord to come in our own kingdom, because we understand this is imperfect. This knowledge will take out all this wrong conception, and we will desire to understand our eternal form, our qualities, our place in the abode of the Lord. And we will pray to be introduced. From there, we practice pure devotion. Before, it is not pure devotion. You understand this principle? Since this platform is not established, it is not real. It seems real because the Lord reciprocates with the desires of the soul, but He does not exist eternally on this plane. But when we come into contact with the original knowledge, through Srimad Bhagavatam and different scriptures, authentic scriptures, so the Lord can reveal himself as he is. And from there, the realization of Brahma is possible. Before that, it's not possible. It's not fanaticism. It is a reality. I'll give you an example. If you approach a person and you don't accept what that person is, you will see that person according to yourself. Then that person will not reveal himself. That person will externally reciprocate with what you gave. But if you really want to know that person and ready to abandon everything to know that person, then at some point that person will reveal itself. That person will reveal his heart. It's the same thing with the Supreme Lord. If you want to belong to him and be what he wants you to be, then he will reveal himself. Because he will be able to reveal himself, because you will become an object of affection and love for him. You will enter into his intimacy, in his abode. That's where you'll see that he has parents, that he has friends, that he has the possibility of loving, of asking for help, and even seem imperfect, although he is the origin of everything and he maintains everything. But if you worship him simply through his power, what will you receive? Someone who destroys everything, who doesn't need anything. There's no intimacy. This is why the authentic disciplic successions, they do a work that is inconceivable. Who can have this qualification to understand? It is extremely rare. Because we must be finished with independence. When we're finished with independence, it starts. Even if a person gets purified, Krishna, when he says Bahunam Janmanamante, Kanavam Prapadyate, he says a Gyani, after millions of existence, someone who has a pure heart, he's not even sure to be introduced. It's not so simple. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains, the only mean is to obtain mercy of a Vaishnava. Because this plane cannot be obtained by our own strength. We can get purified on a certain level to yoga, chanting mantras, doing austerities, etc. It is possible, but we cannot by ourselves force the Lord to become our friend. We cannot. We do not have the strength for that. The intimacy, the qualification. It is impossible. But if a friend of his accepts you, so you can enter into his abode, even if you're not qualified. Because the friend of the Lord, he has the power to do that. This is why faith in Vaishnavas is more powerful than faith in the Supreme Lord, because with the Lord there's a justice. Yatamam prapadyante. In proportion that someone takes shelter from him, in that proportion he reciprocates. So, it depends which kind of abandon you have, surrender you have. There's no chance, unless we're full of pride and we think we're very advanced. But if we have the mercy of a true associate of the Lord, so it is extremely easy. We just need to stay with him in his mission. This is why great personalities, just like Srila Prabhupada, they opened the mission. Why Krishna made them do that? Because this is their mission. Since he's Krishna's friend, he makes people participate. You're like in his abode, because he's Krishna's friend. And the abode of Prabhupada is naturally to enter into the supreme abode. So it is connected. Unless it is an example. There's all kinds of institutions. There's other Vaishnavas, qualified Vaishnavas also. It is one example. But the point is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
il a dit à l'amant de
he
Roy,
said to Ramananda Roy,
tout ce que tu affectionnes,
everything you affectionate, the Lord accepts.
Et l'histoire avec Shivananda
And the
Sen
story with Shivananda
est
Sen
véritablement
is
révélateur.
truly revealing.
On sait que
We know
Shivananda
that
Sen,
Shivananda Sen, at some point,
il a donné refuge à un chien.
he gave shelter to a dog.
Et c'était l'aîné.
And he was the...
Et donc ils allaient rencontrer
So
le
they,
Seigneur Chaitanya Mahaprabhu à
they
Jagannath
went
Puri.
to meet the Lord in Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. He was with a lot of devotees.
Et les
And
dévots
the
étaient
devotees,
vraiment surpris que
they were
Shivananda
surprised that Shivananda
Sen
Sen
prenne soin
was
d'un
taking
chien.
care
Parce
of a
qu'en
dog.
Inde, un chien,
Because
c'est
in India, a dog is
considéré
considered
très bas. Mais le
to be something
Vaishnava,
very low.
il
But the
voit tout
Vaishnava,
comme
he sees
au même
everything
niveau.
on the same level.
Et
And
comme le chien avait pris
since
refuge
the
en lui,
dog took shelter in him,
donc il avait une attention particulière.
he had a special attention
Parce que quand un
towards the
Vaishnava
dog,
prenait refuge dans
special
quelqu'un,
affection. Because when you take
le
shelter of a
Vaishnava est très
Vaishnava, the
miséricordieux.
Vaishnava is very
Et le
merciful.
Seigneur fait
And
que
the Lord
l'affection se crée.
made that affection to be created
Et une sorte
towards the
d'attachement
Vaishnava.
spirituel.
And a spiritual attachment also. In reality,
Les grands Vaishnavas
great
expliquent que
Vaishnavas
lorsqu'on
explain
obtient cette
that when we
miséricorde,
obtain this
un
mercy
dévot nous affectionne.
and a devotee affectionates us,
On
it is
revient
finished.
plus le-
We'll never go back to the material world.
Parce que quand il va partir, il
Because
va
when he
dire,
will leave, he will say to Krishna, please bring him.
je voudrais que tu ramènes ça, 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 ça.
I would like you to
Si
bring
un
this
Vaishnava
person, this
pense à
person,
lui,
this person.
c'est fini.
If a Vaishnava thinks about you, it's finished.
Et donc,
And
à un
so,
moment, le chien,
at one moment, the dog,
il s'est échappé.
he escaped.
Shivananda Sen,
And Shivananda
même
Sen,
jusqu'à
he
dire au Mahabhagavad,
even said to the Mahabhagavad, the associate of the Lord, to look for the dog. Everyone was looking for the dog everywhere.
Et il était triste, il a
And
même
he was
jeûné,
sad.
Shivananda Sen. Il a même
Shivananda Sen even fast. He fast. He went for a fast for the dog. The associates of the Lord, the eternal associate of the Lord. He did a fast for the dog.
En fait, ce qui s'est passé, c'est que ce chien
What happened is this dog obtained such mercy of Mahaprabhu. When Shivananda Sen, he came in the apartments of Mahaprabhu, he saw the dog with Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was giving him cocoa pulp in his mouth and making him chant Hare Krishna. So the inhabitants, they saw a beautiful airplane of Vaikuntha come to take the dog because he became a pure devotee. So it's to tell you how amazing it is powerful an associate of the Lord. Never leave their shelter. Never. Never. It is the only mean to obtain the mercy of Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj says, never someone was able to attain that devotion. We attain it by putting the dust of the Vaishnavas all over our body, unless we're someone special. Otherwise, it is impossible to attain that perfection. Even special people, the Vaishnavas, they like Vaishnavas. It is their nature. Without having a Vaishnava in our heart, we cannot be loved by the Lord. Because in his heart, of course, there's Srimati Radharani, but there's also all his devotees. The heart, Krishna's heart is his love for his devotees. And as soon as we love a devotee, we're protected. All our life is taken into account. The Lord, He takes care of us personally. Because since He has love for His devotee, if a devotee loves us, we are protected. But as soon as we criticize a Vaishnava, it is finished. There's one thing that the Lord does not like, is that we criticize His pure devotee. It's the one thing that He hates the most. As soon as you criticize, then you will receive a strong reaction. If the Vaishnav loves you, Krishna will keep you. But if the Vaishnav rejects you, so Krishna will reject you. But even if a devotee made a mistake, if the devotee of the Lord, the Vaishnava, wants to protect the devotee, so Krishna, he will rectify the devotee, but he will make him come back. It is a principle.
Notre vie,
Our life
elle ne tient pas à grand-chose.
does not hold to much. Materially
Dans un instant,
speaking,
on sera mort.
in some instant we'll be dead. Soon we'll be dead.
Malheureusement, on n'a pas beaucoup de
Unfortunately,
conscience, on perd beaucoup de temps.
we lose a lot of time playing and we're not so much conscious of Krishna. Still,
Les papas, les mamans, ils vont tous disparaître.
the mothers and the fathers, they all disappear. It's just a question of time. We will grow up.
On perd tellement de
We
temps
lose so much
dans
time
des choses qui servent à rien.
in useless things.
Donc on devrait
So we should
utiliser cette
utilize this life
pour servir
to
les dévots.
serve the devotees of the Lord.
C'est très important.
It's really important
S'engager dans leur mission.
to engage in their mission.
Et là, on atteint
And
le succès.
there we will attain success.
Rien ne nous empêche de travailler. Rien
We-
ne nous empêche d'avoir une vie de
We
famille.
can all work, we can have a family life, but we must do it as a devotional service.
C'est des actes
Otherwise, they are
karmiques.
karmic activities. We will have to receive the reactions.
Donc il faut bien réfléchir.
So we must think about this
Vous
properly.
avez le choix.
You have the
Soit vous
choice.
pensez tout ça,
Either you think
c'est des balivernes,
all this is just
soit vous pensez que
lies,
c'est des réalités.
or you think it is the
Si vous
truth.
pensez que c'est des
And if you believe this is the
pourquoi
truth,
perdre autant?
then why losing so much time?
Pourquoi dormir autant?
Why sleeping so much?
Pourquoi jouer autant?
Why playing so much?
Mhm.
You understand?
On doit faire des choses tout
We
le
must
temps
do
pour
things
servir les dévots.
always
Rien ne n'empêche
as
de
devotional
faire des
service.
activités.
It doesn't mean we cannot do activities, but we should always do that for the pleasure of the Lord. You can go swim, you can go this or that, but always for His pleasure. We should always be connected to the devotional cause. Our existence is for Him. The gopis, they make themselves beautiful for Him. His friends, they play for Him. We must exist in this way. Otherwise, our life, what is the value of our life? Because it cannot express the truth. It will disappear at the time of death. Nobody will be able to remember and will take another birth. And with the level of consciousness we had. But the one who is not conscious of his eternal relationship with the Lord, what do the Vaishnavas say? It's just like an animal consciousness. So when we utilize human consciousness, and that we make it regress, we go down to the animal platform, then we take birth in the animal kingdom. That's why we can also go down also. We can fall down into the ladder of reincarnation. Human life is meant for realizing ourselves, how to understand God. No matter which religion we take, we must at least accept God consciousness. Because then when there's no consciousness, it is the animal kingdom. For example, if you ask a dog to come and you make him look at the deity, he will not understand. You see some people, they come into the temple, they look at the walls, they say, wow, it's beautiful. They don't even see the deities. They look at the walls, they say, wow, it's a nice building. But they cannot perceive the deities. So we must truly cultivate spiritual consciousness, no matter which path the living being is. It doesn't matter, but we must start this path to have an even better birth, next life, and to go deeper. And if possible, in this life, attain perfection. Thank you very much.